Well, nobody warns you that the most dangerous part of your first bodybuilding show is what happens after you step off the stage. The dopamine crash, the weight rebound, the identity whiplash. And if you're a high performer with ADHD, that post show free fall can hit harder than prep ever did. This is the story of my first show and where we are today, and how I rebuilt strength, structure, and sanity once the spotlight from the show was gone. Let's get into it. All right. So this was the story of my first bodybuilding show, and this will be a vlog style update from then, which was November 15th, to now. Today it's January the 26th, and I'll illustrate. It'll be a story. Hopefully you'll get something out of it. If you're a new competitor and this is new to you, this might be a very interesting show for you. So again, it was my first bodybuilding show, but the focus again is not going to be about the tan, the lights, or the stage shots. Okay, it's about what happens after extreme fat loss, after the structure disappears, after your body's depleted and your brain is fried, especially if you're again a high performing ADHD wired all or nothing type like me. I mean, from 167 pounds post show depletion. I think that was the lowest. I think I actually might have seen 160 that morning when I first woke up. But anyway, 167 is the official lowest weight. To rebuilding strength and stabilizing my hormones, managing that post show rebound, learning how to transition from contest prep back into a productive high performance life. So this is the honest data-driven breakdown that no one gives first-time competitors. That's what I'm going to attempt to give you here. This is what we're talking about specifically. Post-show dopamine crashes, rebound weight gain without panic, restoring performance, pumps, and recovery. The psychology and structure for ADHD high achievers. This is important. How a great coach will guide you through the rebuild phase, not just the diet. That's the difference between coaches right there. One of the big differences. And why the real win isn't the stage condition, it's the long-term capability. So this series is going to be called From Stage to Strength, and it's the story of my first bodybuilding show and ongoing as I go, perhaps to a new show later this year in November again, perhaps. It's going to be about the emotional and physiological aftermath, how to rebuild the right way without losing your identity, your health, or your edge. And if you're a competitor, a high performer, or someone wired for intensity who struggles when structure disappears, like me, this episode is going to hit home. Okay? So, all right, let's get started from stage to strength. First, why this matters. First part of this. So it was my first bodybuilding show, not my first hard thing, as somebody who had lost almost 100 pounds when I first transformed and changed the way I do life basically completely about 8-9 years ago. So again, not my first transformation, but it was the first time I deliberately pushed my body to an extreme on purpose with a very focused, for this day, this is what I want to do. So let me set some expectations. This isn't a victory lap. It's the after that counts. And I want to focus on the part that no one really explains, especially to first timers. Okay. So giving a little extra angle about ADHD and so forth. If you're wired like I am, ADHD, high drive, all or nothing, the real danger, like I mentioned before, is at prep. It's what happens when the structure disappears, because we do great when there's structure. During contest prep, everything is dialed in, day out, you see changes. You have a daily structure you have to follow, easy enough. But what happens after the show? How do you manage that? So I want to walk you through this honest version, and there'll be numbers. I have data for all of what I'm telling you. There'll be some pictures that I put in post-production. There'll be mistakes, there'll be some wins, and more importantly to me, the people that helped me, who carried me through it, honestly, the people that without them, there's no way I would have made it through. So, all right, let's do this like in chapters, if you will. Chapter one, let's talk about the first show, the first real wake up. Okay. So this is my first time on stage. I'm looking at this incredible, well-lit, ginormous stage. I'm seeing the other competitors for the first time. So that's shocking when you get there. Of course, having my son with me, since we did it together, helped because I'm focused on him being comfortable too, which kind of takes a little bit of the edge off of me, doesn't allow me to ruminate or to dwell on how crazy this is, what we're about to do, or how different. So there was a sense of relief too that finally the day's here. November 15th is here. We're ready for this competition. Let's go do this thing. A sense of pride that I can't describe, mostly for my son, who Chandler is a young man with Down syndrome. He's 27 years old. He's the one who was the inspiration to do this. He's the one who actually wanted to do this in the first place. So I just kind of came along and got swept with it. But I'm just as enthusiastic now about it as he is. And he was. And I was incredibly proud to share that moment. He did a lot of work too. Let me tell you, he worked just as hard, maybe harder than I did, to prepare for this show. So I'm incredibly proud to be his dad and his father and to be able to afford him that opportunity. And then, of course, after the show, there was, we have the lights, we pose. They came out, they created an award for Chandler, like the Inspiration Award. He had the stage. He had the best stage presence of anybody there. Like, that dude is just way too comfortable. I wish I was that comfortable in front of crowds. But in any case, it was an amazing experience. As you'll see, I'll put some pictures here in post production. Afterwards, of course, there's that sense of relief. It's over. I won my division. He won his division. We came home with, carrying the medal, the heavy medal. Had an amazing dinner at my favorite Latin restaurant in the whole state of Alabama, Pablo's, which is incredible, by the way. And if you're interested, like, put it in the comments. I'll let you know about the place because it is the best kept secret in all of Alabama. Best Cuban sandwich, best Latin American food ever. It's right here. Anyway, as a first timer, you don't really know what you just asked your body to do, right? Until it's over. Until like you're like, it's over. And so again, at this point, my post-show weight is 67.1 pounds, which is crazy. I'm flat, I'm dry, I'm super depleted. My blood pressure is slightly raised from stress and dehydration and all that. Hormones are out of whack for sure. I am sure my estrogen was crushed at this point. So I learned that this wasn't just how lean I am, it's how empty I was from a complete spiritual, mental drained. It was all there. We laid it. Chandler and I put everything we had on the line on that show. It was, and I know that sounds overtly dramatic, but it felt that way, especially when, again, you're performing at, you're running on fumes, mentally, spiritually, your willpower has been pushed to the edge, but we made it. And for those of you who are interested in the ADHD angle, I'll keep hammering this throughout this narration, this story. So the structure after the show is gone, right? Because now all of a sudden, like, the show's over. So the dopamine crash hits super hard because it's like, and now I don't have this thing that I've been looking forward to, that I've been working towards. It's gone. It's over. So you feel this as a high performer, you feel this very intensely because the goal has been achieved. There's that sense of relief, that sense of like, yes, I crushed it. But now what? All right. So now what? Leads me into chapter 2. And chapter 2 is going to be the people who held the line. This is very important. I'm going to slow down a little bit here because it matters. It matters to me that people get credit. So first, I want to thank my family, most specifically my wife, who was the rock and foundation for Chandler and me to be able to do this. Without Ashley, without my wife, there is no way this would have been accomplished in any way, shape, or form. That woman helped us prep. She got us every time we had some weird requests for, like, I don't know, a special soap to prepare before the tan, or a special food item that usually we don't get, or whatever, sheets so that we don't stain them with our tans. She was there. She was supportive. She also bore the brunt of our bad moods and hangriness and all that, because when you're in contest prep and that prep brain is on and your hormones are crashed, man, I was awful. I will admit, it took a lot of willpower to not be as awful as I was, and I was awful. Next year, if I do this again, I absolutely have to learn to control that better. And just have like a mental 2 or 3 second delay switch before I open my mouth and say anything, because that's how it is. And Ashley, I mean, she helped me through that, and like a champ. Without her, impossible. This would have been impossible. No one sees that quiet support like she did, like what she did. Like the people that make sure that you eat, you sleep, and don't disappear into your own head, keeping me like, focused in reality. That was all her. My other two children, Connor and Sophia, also were very supportive in the quest for both of us. They cheered us on as they saw us getting leaner and exercising and all that. So, all right, the second person that I want to give a huge shout out, because again, it would not have been possible to do all that we did without him, is our coach, Mr. Big Paul Barnett. I wouldn't even be able to talk intelligently about any of this without my coach and what I've learned from him, and I'm still learning from him. So he was always, this is what I admire. This is signs of a good coach, people. Calm under chaos. No matter how many weird questions I had, no matter how frazzled I was, no matter how unsure I was about that approach, he was calm. He was like, this is expected. This is what you should see. He prepared that runway perfectly so that Chandler and I could land with zero effort. He made another thing that was very important: zero emotional decisions. All the decisions were logicked out, thought through, or he had the experience to tell. For example, pictures doing check-ins and so forth. If I gained some water weight, or Chandler had, like slightly less visible. Well, this is happening because of this, that, and the other thing. Or this is the approach to take. Here's the micro adjustment we need to do. Here are the extra steps you got to take. Here's the extra activity you got to do. It was perfect. Again, nothing emotional, everything logical, coldly calculated. Landing the airplane, and it's like landing a jet fighter on an aircraft carrier. You just got to be real careful. You can do it, but you have to follow the procedures and be very careful. The other thing, he allowed me to trust the process when I wanted to react, to, oh my God, again, what am I seeing these extra 3 pounds? Where, I'm washed out, I'm spilled over. What did it? None of that. He told me to trust the process and showed me that the process works, and to have that trust in it. This is amazing. If you're a beginner, that alone is invaluable, because it keeps you out of your head and keeps you on track doing the right things you need to do in order to achieve your successful goal. And also, more importantly, as I learned after the show, he taught me how to rebuild and not just diet. Okay. So it wasn't just about the contest prep and losing all that fat and all that. Doing that without losing muscle, and then taking advantage of this new insulin sensitive moment that I have after the show, Chandler and I both had, and how to intelligently back us out of that during this rebound phase, and to take advantage of it so that we could grow more and be more efficient in our bodybuilding journey as the year goes by, so that we're ready for whatever the next challenge is. Again, taking advantage of the situation. So, I mean, let's just face it. Anybody can get you lean. A real coach gets you healthy afterwards, and that makes all the difference. So shout out again to Ashley, to my wife, my kids, my family, my mom Teresa, and my sister Mara. Also, they helped me. My friend Ricardo Jimenez, again, inspirational and keeping me like level headed, and Paul, as well as Michael and Kevin, who were Chandler's coaches also for physique, for posing, and for functional fitness. So thank you all, guys. Like, we would not have made it without you. Which leads us into chapter 3, which is the post show, the rebound fear, right? Because now the net is gone, the event is over, the lights are off. Let's talk about scale shock. So the scale, I start seeing the scale, and it's 167, right? That day. In a couple of days, it's 173. A couple of days after that, 175, then 177. It's the first show. It's my first rebound, so I don't really know how quickly this should work or what to expect. My brain's saying, "You're losing it. You're you're losing this thing." But relax. My coach helped me frame this, and this is something to keep in mind. Again, when you're new, keep these words in mind. Like, the calories were increased intentionally because now we're rebuilding. We're in a rebound phase. We want to get those hormones back, get a healthy fat level. Being 5% body fat, like I got, which, by the way, I have the DEXA scans if you don't believe me. 5% body fat, your body is in starvation mode. Your hormones are not normal, okay? And that has a profound effect on your mindset and on your cognitive ability, on everything. So getting a little bit of fat back so that you can then start the hormone replacement, if you will, or optimization after this. I mean, that's a project, it's something to be aware of. So the steps stayed high, like my cardio was still relatively what I used to do. Not as high as right before the end of the peak week, where they were very high. I think I got to a point where it was like 18,000 steps a day or something. I got back down to my normal every day, which I still do every single day, around 10, 13,000, somewhere around there. I walk like 2.5 miles intentionally every day on top of daily activities. Cardio stayed in because I love my fasted morning cardio. It soothes me, it gives me dopamine, it's good for my heart. It's a win-win-win. 20 minutes. I just reduced it back down to 20 minutes a day. On the bike, you can watch a podcast if you don't want to do the whole dopamine, a mental reset while you're doing the bike. You can do that. You can watch a podcast in 20 minutes. It's over. You don't even feel it. And the structure remains. Again, wake up in the morning, fasted cardio, meditation, go for the walk, go to work, etc. So for ADHD brains, that structure that we kept is safety, right? Because removing it too early, that's how people self-destruct, because then they don't know where to go or what to do. That just drives them insane. So that doesn't really work. All right. So now we're moving forward. We're near Thanksgiving now. It's a couple weeks, a month, somewhere in that time frame past the show. Again, the physiology collides. I see the scale going up again, 177, now 184, 186, 188, but feeling better though. I do have a moment of self doubt here. Like, I hope this is the right thing that I'm doing. Again, the coach and the family come into play, your support system, plug into that support system, people. That's why they're your support system. That's why they're there to help you. So, the other thing is fear of messing up this first rebound. I've never done a rebound after a show, and it's a great opportunity for growth. So, I want to make sure I do it the right way. So there's that a little bit of fear. But then, it's okay. We adjust the tools, not the calories. Again, the steps, the activity, the workouts. I started getting stronger in the gym because I have more calories. So I'm starting to see like progression again in the gym, because for a while there was the last month there was a definitely power loss and capacity loss at the gym, which is very impressive. I'm not used to that. Struggling with like 20%, 30% less weight, that did make me nervous. Pulled out the creatine completely just to like not hold water, and did a little bit of appetite and water management, still carb cycling, just with more carbs and more protein, but the concept stayed the same: one high day, one low day per week, lots of medium days. I train 6 days a week out of 7, so it works out perfectly, one low day. So the experience, what that taught me was, it's not avoiding the overshoots, because there was Thanksgiving and I ate and I enjoyed my meal. It's knowing when not to freak out, understanding like, after Thanksgiving, you're going to hold a bunch of water and glycogen. That 6 pounds that you see overnight is not fat. It's impossible for you to get 6 pounds like that. As a matter of fact, 2 or 3 days later, you see the drop in weight, for 2 days, like it rises in my case. And then it starts gradually dropping to your real weight, let's say, not your like fully loaded glycogen weight holding water. So, it's all about understanding these mechanisms, having your coach walk you through them so that you have realistic expectations and you don't freak out. Now we move on to December. And again, hopefully there'll be some pictures all around here that will show like the different changes. So in December, this is where confidence starts kind of growing. So early December, my weight drops back into 170s, 180s. So it shows me that I've been methodical, that Thanksgiving didn't destroy anything, even though I was pretty much off the chain for a day, maybe two. There were no panic cuts. At no point did I do, oh my God, I'm going to do 4 or 5 low days in a row. None of that nonsense. Just stuck with the plan, just got back into the same structure. And the structure worked in early December. Now, by mid-December, my weight stabilizing around the 180 mark, somewhere around there. Strength is definitely coming back in the gym. I can feel it, which is so good. pumps. I'm starting to feel the pump, which I've missed for the last almost 2 months. There was barely any pumps. Now I can feel it because again, the muscle has glycogen. We're getting there. The joints stop aching. They were achy after the show because you're so dry, and it's such an extreme that they just felt and whatever. That's gone. And my volume tolerance improves. I'm starting to put more reps and more sets back in. So, as a first timer, this is the part that, I mean, again, nobody prepares you for except a good coach, which is your body finally says, all right, I'm gonna trust you again. We're eating, we're we're getting bigger, we're healing, basically. I mean, it was almost like a, because remember, bodybuilding to that extreme to the show, it's not really a healthy pursuit. Don't let anybody fool you about that. It's an extreme pursuit, but it's not a healthy one to be that lean. So anyway, so moving on to chapter 6 now, the holidays. And this is where this is where reality, real life, and real discipline definitely collided for me. But you know what? Well, let me just tell you how it went. There were date nights finally again. Woo! With the wife. And date nights means desserts sometimes, at least once a week. There was cake. There were parties involved because we have all of the holiday parties. Our neighbors have a party where they have an amazing dessert bar where everyone brings something and they themselves set it up already. So in addition to that, the guests bring something and it's incredible. And I didn't deny myself that night. I went there for fellowship and for friendship and to share time with family and friends. And I enjoyed myself completely. Same with Christmas dinner. It was a phenomenal affair. There's a restaurant we go to locally that we go every year for Christmas Eve. Amazing desserts, amazing cuisine. Didn't go super crazy, but didn't hold myself back either. I enjoyed it completely. Christmas food all over the place. So there were definitely cookies here and there that were, unscheduled, off plan. So the scale jumped at one point, it hit over 200, which kind of freaked me out. But again, this is where you have to understand in your head, especially again, ADHD person, it's not about your all or nothing brain can sabotage you. Oh, I'm already eating like crazy, so I'll just keep eating like crazy. No, eat like crazy that one time with your family and enjoy it, and then go back to your plan. That's it. You don't like doesn't have to be all or nothing. Like, I'm going to just pig out for a week and just throw everything out the window because I messed up one meal or decided one meal to be unstructured. That makes no sense. Just stick to your structure once you're done with that special event because that's what it is. It's a special event with your friends and loved ones. It's okay. All right. So what I did instead of freaking out after having a day or two of unstructured is I asked for a clean week from my coach, which I got. I chose data over emotion, which again, my coach helped me with. And I didn't negotiate comfort. I didn't have to negotiate it at all. It was like this event for this time, this is how I'm going to do it. I gave myself that permission because life is life. And people in my life that I love are important, very important. So important, more important than bodybuilding. Okay. So I'm going to enjoy life. And I'll get back to the bodybuilding thing right after. It's perfectly fine. Okay. Discipline is not about perfection, guys. It's being able to return to that structure without drama. And that's exactly what I did. Thanks to the advice of my friends, family, loved ones, and coach. Just do your thing, enjoy that day, and then back to the grind, back to the plan, put up the guardrails again. And off we went. All right, now let's talk about January, chapter 7, January. And this is where now strength is becoming the metric. Okay. The scale is calmer. There's less emotional impact. I know it's going to go up because I'm actively trying to grow at this point. I'm eating to grow and I am lifting to grow. And it's been a couple of weeks now. Okay. So I'm fine with this. I am completely okay. Here's the reality: by following the plan and having those calories dialed in and those macros and the carb cycling dialed in, my lifts have been up literally every session since January, end of December. I have PR'd or moved my lifts progressively upwards every single time. They are still moving upwards today January the 20th. They're still moving upwards. They're moving to places I never hit even before contest prep. I am stronger now, probably, than I have been in my entire life, except for maybe a moment where I was like 220, 230 and lifting heavy 5x5s. I was a lot younger. Maybe that one time, I might have been overall stronger, but as far as being in physical shape and my body composition, this good, never. This is the best it's ever been. So the recovery has become predictable. I can sleep. That's the other thing that, is trash when you're in contest prep is your sleep and rest. Because you just can't get comfortable and you're waking up all the time and the hormones that keep making you sweat at night and all that, there's all that stuff. So now my blood pressure's improved. It's down to like 110/75, which for me being like genetically hypertensive is incredible. Um, I mean, everything is moving in the right directions. And my blood work, which we waited a few weeks post show, came back beautiful. My total cholesterol was like, I think like under 100, maybe. It was, it was perfect. Triglycerides in like the 30s. It was textbook. For a 54-year-old, it was beautiful. My kidney function, I only have one kidney for those of you who don't know. So I always watch my kidney function. It's actually the highest I've ever seen it ever as far as kidney filtration rate and so forth. So eating clean, following the protocols, etc., taking the preventive measures, your TUDCAs, your NAC, your milk thistles, being protected, and keeping an eye on those blood markers. Absolutely, that's the way to go. I also had my cardiologist check me out. Everything good there. No crazy CAC scores or anything like that. No signs of anything. EKG, CCG is good, but we're good to go. So basically, when physiology is right, discipline feels easier. That's what I learned, what I'm still learning. And this is where high performers thrive, right here. This is the best place. I feel pumped and excited every time I go to the gym now. It's like a positive thing. It's a challenge, but it's a positive challenge because I can see the changes. I've noticed, like, I've gotten a lot of fellow gym goers who can see the change, right? Who saw me go through all this. And they're like, man, it's making a difference. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. You look better, you look healthier. It's like, I'll take the praise, man. I'll take the outside praise. But again, I'm in a place where as a high performer, I feel like I'm thriving, like I'm growing correctly. Things are going the right way. I'm sore in all the best possible ways. Can't complain. So, alrighty. So, what the journey has taught me. So, let's see if we can put those pictures of this is me at 167, and this is me at 204 currently. So you can see. So at 167, it's the look for stage, but it is depleted and fragile. Look at those little stick arms, versus 204, 203 over here, which is strong, resilient, you know. This wasn't just my first bodybuilding show. It was the first time I trusted a long-term process after the spotlight was gone. That's the part that's been interesting. After the showpiece, I never thought it would be as interesting as it is. You always think of the show as the climax, right? Like that's the thing, and then after that, it's a crickets. It's not though. This phase, this rebound growth phase, has its own excitement and its own milestones and its own rules that you follow that are super cool. And again, hopefully, the plan of what's next. Let's talk about that. I guess this would be a chapter. So what's next is first, my focus is on lean mass. My priority is getting muscle and not scale weight. I'm trying to just have the scale be one more metric because when I was freaking out about getting a little fluffy, I thought about a week ago, my coach very intelligently took a picture from when I started and a picture of me now where we actually weighed the same, but the body composition is completely different. You know, wider lats, big legs, even the arms, which are my weak points, getting bigger, the shoulders popping, same exact scale weight. So that teaches me that the scale is just one more data point, but it's not the be all end all, and it shouldn't be. Okay. So that was definitely one of the things that I learned. But anyway, the focus being for the next few weeks, as long as I can, assuming that Chandler and I do a show in November again around the same time, that means contest prep for us would start somewhere around his birthday in August. So that means from here till August, I'm going to try and off season grow. This will be an off season of growth, growth, growth. There will be a health phase where I will bring down the testosterone and compounds, etc., down to a tier T level for 6 to 8 weeks, just to like level set at some point. We'll let blood work and experience and my coach guide me on when that's going to be. It might be in a few weeks. For now, I think we're just taking advantage of this growth and strength phase because as long as we keep growing and getting stronger, let's not change anything. Just take it as it is and uninterrupted. So again, number one, lean mass focus. That's what we're trying to build here. Like trying to build muscle without getting fat or overtly fat. Fat is inevitable when you grow muscle, but you can definitely make it less terrible. Like I said, health phase, a TRT only for 6 to 8 weeks to normalize all those markers, which are already near normal. So this is just being preventive. And then, like I mentioned before, that contest prep outlook, which is a mid-November show. Depending on how it all works out, maybe even do two shows that are close with Chandler back to back, so that we can, we can hit one show, stay, basically do a peak week, 2 more weeks, if you will, practice it even, and lean into that next show and see what happens there to have a different experience in a different market. So yeah. And if there's something that I've learned, it's like the best prep starts when you're not even dieting. The best prep started during the rebound. When you think about it, taking advantage of that insulin sensitive state in order to grow more and more efficiently, right? So that's an example. All right. So I want to close this out again with, I know it's redundant, but I will say it again with a big thank you. And I want to thank my family, again, my wife, Ashley, my kids, you guys. Without you guys, we could never have done this. And Chandler, if it wasn't for your inspiration, I never would have dared put on some board shorts and prance around the stage in front of strangers. Okay. So thanks to you, buddy. You're my inspiration. And I am so proud of you and everything you've done. I want to thank our coaches. Again, Big Paul Burnett. I'll have his information underneath. I think he still has some slots available. If you want an amazing coaching experience, I couldn't recommend him any higher. Also for posing and for if you're local to the Birmingham market, both. So Michael Williams is our posing coach, great friend of ours. He's amazing. He knows how to motivate Chandler and make him like do the things. We would never have gotten by without his help too. And of course, Mr. Kevin Burke, who's Chandler's original functional coach and who has taught him over the last 5 years how to move, how to get stronger. And he's helped him build that base of strength, which now allows him to be able to compete in men's physique, as a real competitor, not just a person that happens to live with Down syndrome, but an actual competitor because he is competing against, typical people and he's doing well. He's got abs that I wish I had. So there is that. So again, our entire support system, family, friends, our coaches, thank you all so much. All right. This wasn't about stepping on stage. It was about learning how to rebuild, without losing myself. And if you're a high performer with ADHD, it isn't just bodybuilding, guys. All right. This activity, it's structure, identity, and it can be survival. I don't chase stage weight anymore, all right? I'm chasing capability. That's the final lesson I learned from this, to self-improve, to always be improving. And it doesn't matter what stage. It's not about just a stage. Every stage is important. The off season, the rebound, the health phase, they're all important. They all have their part to play. They're equally important. And it's just a cycle. And then the show is just one day in that cycle. Is it a special day? Sure. That's a show where you can get some awards and some stuff. But every day is special when you're on this journey. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I hope that you enjoyed the story and got some insights. Maybe it inspires you to do your own first show. There are many different leagues and places where you can pursue this. There's summer shredding for those of you who are interested in doing it from a more transformation angle, from like losing a ton of weight to getting in shape. There's NPC, which is what we've been doing, which is the amateur level of bodybuilding, which would then feed into IFBB, if we ever make it to that level. But my goal is not to be a pro necessarily. My goal is to self improve and have fun competing with my son. That's really like the goal. Like to just have those bragging rights. Like I'm doing this at 54. How many people can say that, right? Not a lot. So anyway, I hope you found this interesting, inspiring. Hit like, subscribe, ring the bell, all the good stuff. And we'll see you with the next update. And this is Gonzo from Rise 41 signing off. Have a great day.